I sneezed and I guess I quote unquote threw my back out because then the pain just increased. And you know how you get all warm whenever something is off. And so I went to go like wash my face with cold water. And whenever I was looking in the mirror, I was like, I got this, I got this. And then I didn't have it. And I blacked out and I just hit the sink with my chin on the way down. And it was dramatic. And thankfully my husband, he heard me from the next room, and I'm like on my knees, on my hands, trying to like figure out, okay, how am I going to stand? Can I stand? I don't think I can stand. And so he coaxed me for about 30 minutes to say, like, hey, we need to go to the ER if you can't stand. That's when they took the CT scans and told me that I had two herniations. It was between L3, L4, and L4 and L5.
Welcome to Bed, Back, and Beyond, sharing positive stories of recovery from serious back or neck injury. Your host is CK, a fellow champion who draws on her own experience with herniated disc surgery. Join her as she talks with others who have overcome the physical and emotional trauma of a painful injury, and discover for yourself how you can find hope and encouragement in recovery.
On today's episode, I get to speak to Sidney Lewis. Sidney is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the co-owner of Lion's Crest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. With her determination and focus, Sidney made sure living with herniated disc pain was not her new normal. Hi, Sidney. Thank you so much for joining me on the Bed, Back, and Beyond podcast. Before we dive into your injury, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me, CK, and I'm really excited just to dive in. Again, my name is Sydney. I am a co-CEO of Lions Crest Enterprise with my husband. And so what we do is we change lives through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, after school, and summer camp. And I'm also a business coach with the Success Team Coaching based out of Florida. So I live an active lifestyle. I'm an adventurer, so I love paddleboarding, especially being on the coast, kayaking. I also did my first triathlon last year in the early spring of 2023, and I am constantly doing jujitsu and teaching jujitsu as well.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Great question. So my husband actually was in the martial arts since he was young, and then he started teaching. And whenever we got married, I wanted to be the supportive wife and like watch him do his classes. But I'm not the type of person just to watch, so I just dove in, and I've been training for over 13 years, and we received our black belt actually back in August of 2022.
Are the belts the same kind of rating in karate? Does black and jiu-jitsu mean the same in karate? Do you know?
Yes, it is different. So even the karate systems, based on your academy, it can be different systems depending on what your lineage is. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu especially has been pretty organized to where it's the same across the board. So it is different based off like if you're comparing karate to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, wow. And what did you say the name of the school was? Lions?
Lion's Crest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And where's that located?
We're located in Burgaw, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where in the state is that? Is that inner or coastal or?
Yeah, southeast. So we're near, if you know where Wilmington is, so we're near
Yes.
where the Wilmington area is.
Oh, okay. That's
Yes,
great. Yeah, so a
thanks.
very active person.
Yes.
So then herniating a disc must have really cramped your style.
It really did, especially with leading and teaching classes as well. But I will say we have a great just group of coaches that were able to step in and step up for me while I while I really just took a week off, but I know we'll dive into that in just a little bit.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's talk about your injury. How did it happen? Was it a slow onset or a sudden event?
I would say both, to be honest. So, especially with the slow progression, my husband and I actually were able to buy a building for our business, for the martial arts and the after school and summer camp. And it was once a dry cleaners. So, it had all the equipment, all the pipes coming down out of the ceiling. And so, we were the ones to do the demo. And so, being on a ladder, taking down the pipes, there were some pretty scary incidences to where thankfully nobody got hurt. So it was like one of those questionable jobs where we were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. But of course, like lifting, twisting, bending, all that kind of stuff with just putting extra stress. But then on top of that, the stress of buying the building as well. So the emotional part meeting the physical part was pretty intense. So I just noticed my back being a little bit more sore. I couldn't necessarily run like I wanted to. And then I couldn't perform jujitsu like I wanted to. And I was like, oh, it's just being sore from moving and that's it. So I kind of put that off in the back of my head until the pain started to increase. And then this sudden instance was I was in bed and I had coughed or sneezed. I can't remember, but I was like, I went from a 3 to which was my normal state to about a 7. So I was like, let me go like walk it off, see what's going on. And then I sneezed again. It's funny because it's like whenever you get older, you're like, man, the sneeze did me in. Um, so I sneezed and I guess I quote unquote threw my back out because then it like the pain just increased and you know how you get all warm whenever something is off. And so I went to go like wash my face with cold water and whenever I was looking in the mirror I was like I got this and then I didn't have it and I I blacked out and I just hit I know. I hit the sink with my chin on the way down and it was yeah, it was dramatic. And thankfully my husband he heard me from the next room and he ran in and I'm like on my knees, on my hands trying to like figure out, okay, how am I going to stand? Can I stand? I don't think I can stand. And so he coaxed me for about 30 minutes to say like, hey, we need to go to the ER if you can't stand. And so he took me, and yeah, that's when they took the CT scans and told me that I had two herniations from it was between L3, L4, and L4 and L5.
Okay. Was the pain just in your back, or did it also go down your leg?
Yeah, great question. It actually started like the slow progression was in my left sciatic, and the herniation was more so on the right side. So, especially because it's around the hip joint and all those nerves, it just, yeah, it definitely put some pain through my left leg was the one that was more just it hurt more on that side.
Mine was a slow progression as well. My
Yeah.
dogs, I had 2 of them at this point, pulled me backwards, and I had to, like, slam my leg down so I didn't fall over, and I got,
Yeah.
like, an instant sharp pain in my right glute, then it traveled to
Mm.
my back, and it lived in my back for a while, then it traveled to my
Mm.
left glute, so that was, like, from April, and then by the middle of June, it was my left glute down my leg, and then I rolled over to get out of bed one morning, and that's when I got hit with this.
Yes.
But it was definitely a
Oh.
slow progression.
Right, and with the other podcasts that I've been listening to from you, they're wonderful, by the way, is that it seems
Thank
like
you.
it's you're welcome. It seems like it's been that slow progression, and then we just like, you know, like, "Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay."
Yeah. Now, did you have I could say for myself that I've always kind of had a weak back, and I would throw my back out, like, every other year. It was just tradition, I feel like. Did you have a weak back ahead of time, or was this all brand new to you?
This was brand new to me. I've always been very, like I said, active, but also just strong. And this was something that was new to me. And also in jujitsu, I'm definitely the type of person that goes like 110% in whatever I do, and even if it's like not for my own good. So grappling guys that are over 200 pounds, like my husband had to put like a weight limit on me for who I grapple or spar with. He's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be because especially like there's a point to where you have your technique, but then strength just yeah, throws that out the window." So, yeah, especially whenever I was grappling with the heavier guys, I would be way more sore the next day. And I think that also had a progression part of it.
Okay. Did you get an MRI right then and there when you went to the emergency room, or did they refer you to another doctor?
I got it right there and then.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. They for some reason for me, they said, "We're not gonna do an MRI. You have a herniated disc, but we're not gonna do an MRI." It took about
Oh
2 or
wow.
3 weeks before I finally got the
Oh
MRI.
wow. Well, they said that they were like, because I was like shaking and I was just in constant pain, and they were like, look, this is what it sounds like, but we want to confirm it. So they put me into the machine, and I had to like, it took me like 5 minutes just to get laid down,
Just a
because you're
little
like
rollover.
everything
Yep.
hurts. Yeah.
Oh goodness. And did the doctor come in and they suggest a surgery, or did they say, well, it's small enough, we want you to try conservative?
Yeah, they told me to go to a spine specialist and get their opinion, and I still have yet to go. I'm going to tell myself I still have yet to go because again, I wanted to see this happened back in October. So my plan was like 6 months to, 8 months. I had a very short span. I'm like, if they tell me like, oh, it's gonna be 3 months, I'm like, I can do it in two, you know, which is not all the best, but at least like keeping in the positive vibes type of thing.
Yeah, okay. So you haven't gone to see the spine specialist. What have you been doing to help yourself? Because you don't seem like you're in pain right now.
No, no, and I will say my hips do twist every once in a while, so I do go to the chiropractor. So I do see the chiropractor. We have a decompression table as well, that we just have had since doing jujitsu. And then I did go to physical therapy. I went actually, I think it was just 3 different times because he was able to educate me on the types of movement drills that I need to do. And so just again being a coach, being active, I was able to understand what was needed and what I didn't need to do, and put up those boundaries and make a plan for myself along the way. So yeah, doing the physical therapy has helped immensely. And then also I went to an acupuncturist because of the herniation around all those nerves in the hips. I wanted to make sure that the blood flow was still good. And yeah, because especially if you have any numbness or spasms or something like that, then that could be caused by the nerve. So I went to an acupuncturist, first time ever, really different, but I liked it. It was just really different. I was like, I have to hold still for how long?
I find that relaxing. If I can just lay down, even the dentist chair, if I could just lay down and not do anything for a half an hour, that's
Yeah.
relaxing. I have a girlfriend who is an acupuncturist who's out in California, and I want to have her on the show just to discuss the how it can help with herniated disc pain.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you said you have a decompression table. Is that like the inversion where you turn upside down?
It is not. It's actually flat. We found it on Amazon. Fantastic buy, but it's actually flat. It's closer to the floor. And then what you do is you put your feet into the holder, and then you make sure that it's according to your height. And then there's this little wheel on the side that you roll, and it just like pulls you, and you do have a holder like underneath of your armpit, so it doesn't get anything on the neck from the shoulders up towards the head, but it does get from the shoulders down towards your lumbar spine, which is really nice.
It's making me think of The Princess Bride. Have you seen that movie?
Right, yes, actually a couple weekends ago we watched it.
Well, they strap them to like a stretching table at some point.
Yep.
I wonder
Yes,
how much
just like that.
modern medicine is from former torture devices.
Exactly, right? Like until the Hun where they used to like stretch people out, they were like, "Oh, this feels kind of good."
Do you mind explaining some of the physical therapy moves that you were told to do?
Yes, yeah, I can definitely dive into that. I know hip bridges was very big, especially again being in that lumbar spine. Hip bridges, I did clamshells. I did, especially for the stretching portion, because if I would wake up sore around that area. And so just hugging the knees at the beginning was just a very good one. Something that actually did help because of where my herniation was doing downward dog or cobra with the knees on the floor. I think there's also the Sphinx where you're on your elbows, hips are on the floor, but pushing that in, that actually helped to push the herniation, or I guess reabsorb it back into the spine. And then There's also the one where you're on your back and it is called marching. So you're on your back, your feet are in a 90-degree angle, and then you just tap your heel down, come back up, tap your heel down. So a lot of core strength, so that way you're not pulling on your back so much and it's more supported.
Yeah. Some of those moves I saw on the Bob and Brad channel. I don't know if you've seen the physical therapist on YouTube. So they recommend especially the marching and, the butterfly with your knees, just keeping your back muscles active, and, re-strengthening them. Because I did the opposite and went total still when I got hurt, and then that made my recovery much longer than it should have been. But I'm sure
Oh, because
somebody.
of like stretching?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Oh
So I'm sure
man.
somebody as physical and active as you, maybe recovery is a little bit easier, do you think? Or
I think I would say so. Obviously, there's two parts to the equation. There's the mentality behind it, and then obviously the physical part of it. But for one, I wanted to use surgery as like the last resort. However, I do know that there are people that need the surgery because an odd question that kept coming up was, how was your bathroom movement? And I'm like, people actually like, they can't go. That is terrible. So, with my I feel very blessed in the sense of my with my herniations on how I've been able to manage it. But to answer your question, I do think that having that healthy background and being movement oriented has definitely helped with it. And then also just like there's a lot of research on your skeletal muscle and your nutrition, especially. I'm also doing a whole lot more bone broth with collagen in it to help to just strengthen up that part of the discs, so that way it's less likely to herniate again. But just going through all of the steps.
and I'm sorry, did you get any kind of, cortisone injections, or did you stay away from those as well?
I stayed away from those. The main thing that helped, because the ER sent me home with muscle relaxers and pain medication. And my dad does pain medication, and because he actually has spine issues, he was born with his spine too big for his spine or too small for his spinal cord, and he was also a paratrooper, so he has some back injuries as well. Eh, I know. So I was like, I don't want to do painkillers if I can help it. And so, but the muscle relaxers were amazing. They help to just really focus in on that area and loosen up the muscles, because of course when you get an injury, your muscles are part of your armor and they just like tighten up and say, nope, we're not going to hurt that again.
Right. That's part of physical therapy is retraining your muscles that it's okay to move again.
Right.
So that was your injury was October, you said?
Yes, of
Of
2023.
23. Okay. And
Hmm.
it was a pain level 7 that took you to the emergency room. How
The
long
pain level went to a 9.
went
Just
to 9?
the
Okay.
7 was the sneeze, and
The
then the
sneeze
9 was whenever I hit the floor.
when you hit the floor that made you pass
Yeah.
out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will never forget the pain that when I rolled over that morning. Oh.
Yes, yeah, it's crazy.
So then how I'm assuming that the emergency room gave you steroids and pain meds or
They they did
just the
actually, they
muscle
did give
relaxer?
me steroids. They did give me steroids, muscle
Okay.
relaxers, and then the pain medicine.
Okay. Do you remember how quickly after the ER your pain level started to go down from a 9?
Yes, actually, it went from the ER, like that day, it actually started to go down, which was phenomenal, which thankfully that was part of the muscle relaxers and resting. And then going into from the 7, it would go to a 5, and then it would consistently go down each week to where by like week 3 I was just sore, and I'd have some spasms if I moved incorrectly, but it just consistently went down because I was doing physical therapy like twice a day instead of just once a day, and I was like, I could do this.
Where is your pain level now?
Pain level for the herniation is completely gone. The pain level for the herniation is completely gone. Yes, and right now I'm focusing on my hips because they have torsion or they're twisted. Again, jujitsu, but the chiropractor is setting me straight on that one.
Yeah. Now
Literally.
have you gotten a second MRI or not since you're
Not since. No, I am looking to still go back to a spine specialist here in the next few months, but just to make sure that I'm still on the right track, that it's not going to re-herniate anytime soon, and that I'm like what I'm doing, especially nutrition wise, is strengthening up around that spine.
okay. What else are you doing nutritional wise?
Oh, like I said, the bone broth, my friend or the person I went to for the acupuncture, she also noticed I'm also low in iron, so just increasing the iron, making sure that my blood is healthy so that way it can carry all the nutrition to the parts that is needed. She did say something very interesting. I haven't done further research, but she did say eating pineapple helps with the scar tissue because the bromelain helps to break apart the scar tissue. So, like I said, I haven't done full research on it, but I do love pineapple, so I've just been diving in on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Doesn't hurt
and
just to eat
and
more.
right, right. And ultimately, like even before my husband and I, we eat pretty clean. Like we don't do any vegetable oils. We typically cook with avocado oil or olive oil, just because of the inflammatories in it. And then same thing with the vegetables, lean meats, grass-fed meats, types of yeah, those types of things.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you tend to eat an anti-inflammatory diet.
Yes, definitely. Especially whenever you're doing jujitsu, it's kind of like because you're just sore all the time, especially in your fascia tissue. So you're like, what can I do to not get inflamed as much?
It's funny how much food is medicine and how much bad food can affect your health.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So, are you back to doing any jujitsu, or are you still holding off?
No, I am focusing on jujitsu. In fact, it was about a week after my herniation, I started to be able to move. So I actually went back into teaching. I just wore a back brace to help hold everything in, and then we actually just came back from a seminar in Dallas with the Machado Jiu-Jitsu Association, and it was a 3-day seminar filled with jiu-jitsu and business. So it was very fun. It was about 26 hours of jujitsu and business, and only one time did I have to wear my back brace. So I've been into it with drilling, and then I've been very picky on who I've been sparring or rolling with.
Do you mind if we talk a little bit about what was your mental state when this was all happening?
Yeah, definitely. So when I believe in one of your previous podcasts, you had like hit the nail on the head where you said you feel stuck. And I was like, man, that definitely because you're physically stuck, you can't walk or you're very limited and you're like, how long is this going to happen? Am I going to be here for forever? And so like, no, this is not my new normal. So that was one of the mentalities. And even whenever I'm sick or I have other injuries, I'll like surround myself with positivity so that way I don't get into a negative spiral because your mentality is going to lead you on which direction your body's going to heal, to be honest. And so my husband was very supportive. It was very sad when I couldn't put on my own socks or shoes, so so he was incredibly supportive. And my mental state, I am a believer, and so just praying and knowing that God was going to be pulling me through as well. And also, I always take on the mentality of what do I need to learn while I'm in this season, because I need to learn how to be still. Also need to learn my boundaries as to even though I do want to go for mud runs, I want to go paddle boarding, that is not where I'm at currently, but that is a goal. So how then, and then I dissect how can I then get to my goal from there. So definitely, and I'm a pretty positive person anyway, so and so having a positive mentality, but I definitely felt betrayed. That was a word that just kept coming up. Like I am betrayed by my own body, but then also I betrayed my body because I put it in this state too. And so really trying to heal myself from that mentality has been a game changer for me as well.
So you probably had to take a second and say, "Stop blaming yourself," right?
100%. Yes. Like, hey, it is what it is, but how can I move forward more powerfully?
And you also seem to have that, just innate, I love a challenge kind of personality.
Yes, definitely.
I try to encourage people all the time, like, you have to look at this as a challenge you can overcome. Because if
Yes.
you dwell in the "woe is me," then you will get
Yes.
stuck emotionally.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And especially as being business owners, we've learned how to be problem solvers. And so we love, my husband and I, we love puzzles. So I'm like trying to take the emotion out of it and say, okay, this is a puzzle. What needs to happen? What are my goals? How do I get there step by step?
Have you learned anything about yourself through this?
I have. I've learned more patience because someone who is like a go-getter is like, it needs to happen and happen now. I've learned to listen to my husband better because he's of course my biggest supporter and he wants me to be the healthiest me as possible. Um, I've learned that there is way more about my body that I can appreciate than just the physical aspect of it.
Wow, I love it. So, October, you're in the ER, and here we are. What month are we in?
Almost May, yes.
Yes. And you look great, you sound great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great testimony to just the mindset and taking your health seriously and doing what you can to get better. You're not stuck.
Thank you. Correct. Yes, 100%. And then listening to podcasts like yours on the encouragement level on, hey, these are people that have gone through it and I can overcome it as well. So, yeah, just surrounding ourselves with positivity is great. And I love that your podcast is one of them.
Oh, thank you. Anything else you want the listeners to know before we wrap this up?
Just continue. When you're in the midst of it, just make sure that you surround yourself with people that will keep you accountable, but also keep you supported. And because when our back, especially, is not supporting us, we feel literally unsupported or stuck. And so having that support system is very important for both our physical and mental being.
Did you do anything to keep your mind occupied while you were stuck on the couch, by the way?
Well, owning a business, yes, yeah, there's always something to do. And again, I'm a puzzle person, so we do puzzle games. We have a 16-year-old border collie mixed Australian Shepherd, so who has spondylosis, so which is arthritis of the spine. So we'd go out and take small walks together, like short, small walks together, trying to like both of us hobbling. So that was very that was very fun. But that's typically how my time was occupied, and then just connecting with our students and yeah, the business, like I said, takes a lot of the mentality on working on the business, not just in the business.
How old are your students?
We actually start at kindergarten, and then we have all the way up into our adults, which is our in their 60s.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, yes. We have after schoolers that and summer campers that we serve are elementary age kids. And then our martial arts classes start at 5 and go till 8 years old, and then 9 to 13. And then they just dive right into the adults class. And we actually have kids that have started when they're 5 and gone all the way into the adults classes now. And they give us a run for our money.
Do you do traveling for competitions or anything like that?
We do. We stick locally, just especially with our kids competitions. Stick locally to Charlotte, Raleigh, South Carolina. But I know some of our adults want to get more into the Charlotte area for the competitions.
Okay. And do you still, it's not, is it called fight in competitions or is it spar?
Yeah, it's called grappling, especially in jujitsu or sparring. It just depends. But I don't compete because of focusing on the business and focusing on our competitors. Typically, you'll either be a really good competitor black belt, a really good business owner, or a really good coach of competitors. And it's hard to be all three. So we chose to serve our students versus us going to compete.
Okay. And do you have a website?
We do, yes. It's lionscrestma.com. And then we also have Burgos Best Kids .com, which is our after school and summer camp.
Sidney, it was such a pleasure just speaking to you and just your positive energy and your outlook. I just love it. And I just
Thank
love having
you.
people on here that have had a herniation but didn't need surgery and never will, hopefully, need surgery to
Yes.
get better.
Thank you so much, Christine. I really, really appreciate you just asking the questions and giving me the opportunity to just be encouraging to other people who are unfortunately in the same predicament, but or their loved ones are, but just knowing that they can overcome too.
Amen. And if you are a listener that has a positive story of recovery from a serious neck or back injury and you want to include your voice on the show, head to my website, bedbackbeyond.com, and click share your story. I would love to include your voice on the show. Again, Sydney, thank you so much.
Thank you.